and I built a greenhouse. This was a project. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. I think since I was young, I wanted my own greenhouse. And I had been planning to build a hoop house, but I found myself the recipient of a gift of a stack of lumber, of 2x lumber, 2x6s and 2x4s, and that sort of came about in the fall time, and it was a little bit unexpected. So for the past several years, I've gone to Burning Man in the fall, and one of the challenges of going to Burning Man if you live on the East Coast is getting all of your stuff out to the desert in Nevada. For those who don't know, Burning Man is I don't want to call it a festival. It's a gathering of like-minded folks, about 70,000 of us in the desert in northern Nevada, where we build communities, art, and just generally have a whole lot of fun. So, to get all of my stuff to Burning Man, I would volunteer and use a service put together by a local group who call themselves Black Rock East, known as the Boston Container Project. And basically what we do is we send 3 shipping containers to the desert from the Boston location, and we all load all our stuff, our art projects and camp equipment and stuff on the container and ship it out there. So I volunteered with the project a few years, and one of the things that I did was schlep these wooden shelves from storage out here in the middle of Massachusetts into Boston. And we would put these shelves inside the shipping container to give us 2 levels so that we could pack more stuff in. And these shelves were made with 4x8 sheets of plywood and a bunch of 2x4s and 2x6s. A few years ago, the project decided they were going to upgrade to basically like scaffolding and aluminum shelving, much easier to handle, easier to store, and a little bit more elegant a solution than the cobbled together wooden shelves. So the person on whose property we were storing these shelves didn't need to store them anymore. So we were going to load everything into a dumpster and get rid of it, and I said, hey, you know what? I'll show up with my trailer and we'll just throw everything on the trailer. I'll make it disappear. Because, you can't give up free lumber. So I had everything sitting on the trailer for a while, and I didn't have any place to store it inside, and winter was coming and the snow was falling, and I was like, need to do something with this wood or it's just going to rot on the trailer, and that's not good. So then I realized, all right, I was going to build a greenhouse, I was going to build a hoop house, but maybe I can come up with a frame and a way to use this lumber. Because these shelves were a 4x8 sheet, and then there were sort of pieces shaped like ladders that held that platform in place on either side. So each shelf unit had 2 8-foot 2x4s, 2 45-inch 2x4s, 4 48-inch 2x4s, and then several diagonals which were about 5 feet long. So I had they weren't all full-size 8-foot pieces of wood. So I came up with a design that would, where all of the pieces that I cut out fit within the pieces that I had. And that's where the Dutch colonial, the gambrel roof came in, because it allowed me to use those 5-foot and those 4-foot 2x4s. One of the things that I did while building the greenhouse that turned out to be really cool was I had 2 chop saws, both I found at the dump, and I fastened them to a plank, and I set them up each with a different angle at the right distance, so all of the roof pieces were cut using that jig, and I could just take a 2x4, slide it on to the 2 chop saws, cut one, cut the other, and I had my 2 different angles. Sorry, the camera overheated, so I've turned the fans back on. So to finish what I was saying, that method with the 2 chop saws, that's how I cut all of the roof sections, and that really sped things up. Alright, I'm going to show you a few of the features inside here, and then we'll go take a look at the greenhouse from the outside. So you can see it's the planting season, and we've got all our tomatoes and basil and other plants ready to roll here. And I've set up some scrim to keep the sun down so they don't get too hot. I believe this is the southeast wall of the greenhouse, is about 2/3 bench and then some storage. Part of the reason for the greenhouse was to store things like the lawn tractor and the snowblower over the winter. You can see the gambrel roof there. The north side of the greenhouse, there's a bed, and I commissioned my artist daughter to paint a mural on the 1-inch isocyanurate foam insulation that covers the northwest and northeast walls, so that when we look at the greenhouse from the house, it always appears to be filled with greenery, even in the middle of the winter. This corner over here, mostly storage. The center post goes about 4 feet into the ground, and then it is braced at the top to the internal structure. There's a 2x6 ridge. You can just see that right next to the edge of the bed. That is a piece of angle iron. That is also from a bed frame, and it has an 8-inch T welded on the bottom of it. So I dug a 4-foot hole with a post hole digger to get started, and then once I got through the rocky layer and into the sandy layer below, I used a shop vac to dig it right down to about 4 feet, and then I put the angle iron with the T in it in that hole, and then I poured in about 80 pounds of concrete. So there are 6 anchors like this to hold the whole thing into the ground. So in 3 years it has not budged at all. Alright, I got some speakers in here because plants love music, and so do I. Let's go take a look from the outside. Again, on the interior structure, I made these plywood gussets to hold the gambrel roof rafters together at this point. And then in the corner, to provide some more rigidity, there's a brace, 45-degree mitered brace in the corner. By the way, this 1-inch isocyanurate insulation panel, these are reused. This was a hexayurt. If you don't know what a hexayurt is, Google hexayurt. It's an interesting project. But basically a shelter that I built for Burning Man in 2014, and I had painted these panels, and the paint didn't stick. It peeled off in places. So at the end of the event, it's a leave no trace event, and at the end of the event, we were picking up pieces of paint with tweezers to get the desert floor clean, to truly leave no trace. So it was clear that particular structure was not going to go back to Burning Man. But fortunately, it has become part of my greenhouse. Okay, here is a view of the whole side of the greenhouse. We're basically looking from the east directly west. We may be a little south of east here. And again, you can see the shape. That first vertical is 48 inches. That second piece is, I believe, just shy of 48 inches. And then that top piece is a little bit longer. If I recall, maybe 54 inches, something like that. So that was made with those diagonals and with the 8-footers cut down. And then the two lower pieces were made with the 4-foot pieces. The door in the end, that's just a screen door that I found at the dump. I sprayed some frosted glass over the bottom to continue that line of the insulation board. It just made it look a little bit more elegant. The bench is also made out of the same wood. And let's go around to the other side, or maybe let's look from the inside. These doors are just pieced together from 2x4s, glued with polyurethane construction adhesive and screwed together. Very simple, a couple hinges on the outside. One is dead bolted, the other has a hasp on the outside. In the roof there are two skylights like this, and they have greenhouse vent openers. These are basically wax motors, and when it gets hot they open the skylight, and when they cool off they close again. And then in addition, I've got a couple of thermostatically controlled fans from the dump, which turn on when the temperature goes over 90 in the greenhouse. Oh, and the covering, this is greenhouse plastic. I bought it from, I think the site is greenhousemegastore.com, or maybe it's megastoregreenhouse.com. No, it's greenhousemegastore.com. And it is a UV resistant polyurethane. It's got a 5-year guarantee. It's been up for about 3 years, and it seems like exactly the same as the day that I installed it, so I'm expecting that it will last even longer than that. We've gotten significant snow loads in the wintertime, like up to 1.5 feet, and it does tend to stay on the top part of the roof until the next sunny day, and then as soon as it warms up a little bit, it slides right off. So we've had no issue with snow loads whatsoever. Now, this isn't part of the greenhouse, but this is something that I've really enjoyed having in the garden. This is a soapstone sink. It's from my parents' house, which was built in 1909, I think. And the sink was installed when the house was built. So this is over 100 years old, and it is great to have for washing vegetables, for washing your hands. We'll often mix up some compost into potting soil in the sink, and it's sitting on a I think this was like a steel glass top coffee table for outdoor coffee table. I found it at the dump, and it was just the right height and shape. We've had issues with woodchucks in the past, so and also bunny rabbits, lots of bunny rabbits. So I put up a hardware cloth fence. It's dug down into the ground about 8 inches or so, and I 3D printed these standoff insulators and ran a wire around, and that is connected to an electric fence generator, and that seems to have kept most of the creatures out. There's one wire here, and then there's another wire just above the ground, so if the animal comes up to the fence or if they jump onto the fence and then try to climb over, they're sure to touch the wire. And we have not had any major damage due to critters since I installed these. Oh, and in addition, I've put solar lights all around the edge. This keeps the deer from running into the fence in the middle of the night. You know, they're not purposely trying to do anything, but they'll be running through the yard, and you know, we would find the fence just bowled over sometimes until I put all these lights there so that they can see it and they won't run into it. This is the northwest wall of the greenhouse, so you can see it's all insulated, and these are the air intakes. And this is the door for moving the lawn tractor in and out. You saw that from the inside, and it's just secured with a hasp. And that's pretty much it for the greenhouse.